it's December 30th, 2022. I'm glad to join you here. And throughout the past 3 years, it's become brazenly evident that the institutions and government of the United States of America have been working together in a vast network of collusion to deceive the public and to intentionally deconstruct society from within and through the institutions of the country, breaking down the infrastructure of businesses, small businesses through the shutdowns of 2020, concealing information about the word that sounds like papyrus but starts with a V, concealing information about that and its origins, and basically creating it and releasing it upon the American public, and then producing a solution that was far worse than the original problem that was taking place in 2020. And they used corporations, advertisement, covering of what was taking place through the news to inaccurately report on the realities of what was taking place, silencing from speaking up and giving accurate information about real that could be used to help people. So it's a very vast topic, elaborate and complex, all the ways that American society has been assaulted by this recent invasion. And it's really been an invasion in the institutions and the governments of the world that has been in place for probably about 100 years based on many people's analysis. And now that a lot of people are starting to look into the details of the depths of corruption, it appears that these institutions have been compromised for a long time, far longer than what we've personally witnessed in our generation, or if you're older, you may have been aware of it for a long time. For instance, 9/11, when that took place, obviously there was corruption going on there. So it's been going on a long time, but at this moment in human history, we have a great opportunity because so many Americans are aware of the depths of corruption and are really starting to wise up about what it means to be American and the importance of human rights and the dangers of what society can become like if those human rights aren't protected and if governments aren't submitted to the will of the people, as the American Constitution was designed to make the American government function. So, to go over all the details about the depths of corruption and the censorship and the violations of the Constitution is a huge topic, and there's many different platforms elaborating on these topics. So if you would like more details about that, there's a link in the description below to the Redeclaration website that if you scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a link to an accurate independent journalist website where they cover the news, and they have many documentaries explaining all the ins and outs of the corruption and the compromise within the institutions and what their overall plan and agenda is. You can go to that website and get a further understanding of what's really going on. But to sum it up, it's basically global domination, global governance that is not in alignment with God's design for nature and for human society. And it will lead to humanity being reduced to a worthless commodity. And there is speculation that if Trump runs again, that's going to be the solution to the problems that we face as a nation. But based on the fact that the UN and the WEF have long-term plans and goals to bring destabilization of society and bring in other tyrannical agendas leading up to the year 2030 and even beyond, putting our hope and trust in Trump, I believe, is a distraction, and it's part of the psychological operation to slowly train people to accept more and more tyranny and less freedom. We see a breakdown of the morals of society through the education system, through Hollywood, through what is widely accepted as moral and ethically accepted in society. So now's the time for us, the people, to start working together and partnering together to create a network and a community and a society of people that don't want to consent to the tyranny that they're working on bringing in, and the digital enslavement through the digital ID and the digital currency and surveillance of every person's actions, and the people who don't want to be a part of a system where if you speak up for traditional values that you'll be shut out of society, and so on and so forth. One of the most simple ways to explain how fallen the American government is and how it's irredeemably corrupted and how it should not be the main avenue for change in regards to these topics and these events that we're faced with in society and in the world is two very simple points. One is that the Constitution was designed to empower the American government to have governing power in the land based on the consent of the governed. And in the preamble of the Constitution, it says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, to establish justice," and so on, lays out that it's we, the people, who are ultimately supposed to be in charge through choosing our own elected officials. And now that that has broken down, and the people in positions of leadership were not chosen by us, we the people, they've clearly failed their obligation and their responsibility to Americans on that first, most basic, most fundamental responsibility. Secondly, the Constitution was designed to equip the government with the ability, and one of the main purposes, to protect people's most basic and essential God-given right to be alive. So the fact that they have physically waged war against Americans through their injection campaign and all the loss of lives that has resulted because of that, and they knowingly did this, they continued to push those shots for the past 2 years, when right at the beginning of the release of those, it was evident by a lot of people, and it was made abundantly clear that people's lives were being lost and harmed because of those shots, far more than the risk of the original disease. Even according to the government's own data, it was reflecting, for instance, in Medicare's numbers. So, all that to say that those are the two fundamental reasons that the government was created to begin with, to be a representation of the will of the people and to protect people's most basic right to be alive. Now, what are we going to do about it? The good news is that there is millions of us who are aware and awake to what's going on, and millions of us Christians within the nation who have a different understanding of what society is supposed to look like and the role that government is to play in our lives. And ultimately, it's meant to be submitted to God, the Creator, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. And Jesus has called us as his people to love humanity, to love our neighbor as ourselves, care about a person's freedom, care about a person's rights, and if their lives are in danger, as we have seen throughout the past 2 years, then it's our duty as Christians to care about their lives. And one of the ways we can do that is by working to prevent this from happening again, and by working together to secure a society that is founded on love for humanity and respect for human rights. Let me say it like this. If Jesus calls us to love human beings and a human being's life is in danger from a powerful organization such as the American government, how do we protect those human beings and the threats that they will be faced with in the upcoming years and generations when that government has intentionally worked to harm human lives? Basics of the faith is to love human beings, and that includes loving their very lives. So to stand by and do nothing while people's lives are in jeopardy and in danger is to not be a Christian, is to not care about the most important aspect of following Jesus, and that is to love human beings, because that's part of the mission of America, is to secure human rights, and that really is rooted in an understanding that the Creator has made humankind in his image, and that every person is worthy of dignity and honor. And he has made mankind male and female, and he has a design for society. And that's why having a strong government is important, because we do care about society being a peaceful, safe place. There's been many successes throughout human history in America, but America is still a work in progress. Some of the successes that we've had as a nation is securing equal rights for people no matter the color of skin or whether they're male and female. That's something great that we can hold on to and unify in as Christians across this nation with what's going on in the world. Also, the designs of the Constitution are a great foundation to have a strong government. The only thing is that this institution that is claiming to be the constitutional government isn't obeying the rules and the guidelines. So at this point, the establishment government should only really be used as a secondary outlet for change, but we the people can begin to join together all across this nation, across state lines, and form an allegiance amongst one another, because the government isn't necessarily the buildings, especially if they're inhabited by people that we did not choose to be there, but the government is we the people and who we choose to lead us. So rather than continuing to look to the power structure for solutions and be begging them for crumbs of freedom, it's wiser to start to work amongst each other in a grassroots way and create a network of Christian patriots working together who have common values and a common destination that we're going towards and a common goal that we have for the nation. And this will take years, but if we just go along with the plans that these institutions have for us, in years, they're going to be having a very strong and powerful system of institutions and agencies and businesses that will be a danger to traditional values and the design that we choose to live by as good citizens who don't want to go into this digital tyranny that they're trying to bring in and be enslaved by the government and the economy and the corporate world. So if we begin to unite together as the people and agree upon the foundations for our system being the Constitution and the founding principles in the Declaration of Independence, and uniting together under God, because part of this warfare that's being committed against the public is cultural and ideological warfare. They're starting to use Hollywood and use news reports and use advertisements and businesses and what they train their employees with and the education system to start to shape the minds of the public with destructive and perverse views that are a lower standard of morality. Now, if we unite together on godly, good, traditional values that have historically remained consistent throughout human history, and we hold the line in those values, then we have a greater chance of sustaining those values, passing them on to future generations, and not surrendering the future of human society to perverse worldviews and morals that are a lower standard than what God has for society. The people behind this attack know that if they can corrupt the nation with moral rot and decay, it'll be far easier to conquer America. But we want to work for solutions. We don't want to see collapse. We want to see stability and peace on earth and goodwill towards mankind and traditional values being upheld and passed on to future generations. Here's an example of the danger of the fact that they're corrupting morals in society. If they set the standard that everybody in society should accept cursing or sexual immorality, and then you have a job, and as a Christian, it's your duty to not go along with that. We've seen people get fired from their jobs and face legal action because they're speaking up for what's right. And so that's a real danger that we face in the upcoming years and that will continue to increase. For instance, there's been stories and testimonies of parents who refuse to call their child by a different gender and they get their child removed from them, or they refuse to have a gender procedure done on their child. That's mutilation of their child's body. Any loving parent in their right mind would not want their child to go through that. And are they going to start to take people's children away so that they can be mutilated? It's totally wrong. So we're faced with real humanitarian issues, and this is a responsibility for the church to begin to come up with solutions and begin to unite together, or else be completely ruled by a godless government system that will, it's already depopulated people and caused all kinds of human rights violations. So we have a window of opportunity to unite together, and there's so many more of us than there are of them, and together we can accomplish a lot. To sum up what I've just said, the American government is inhabited by corrupt people, and it's very unlikely that we will be able to get that system of the establishment back under the will of the people. Secondly, we can unite on common values all across the nation, good values found in Scripture and based on God's design for humanity to flourish in its natural design. Now I'll go through some solutions. That we see an attack on all aspects of society. We see an interference with the business world, our jobs, our ability to shop, in the education system, in the laws and the institutions, with the economy, with the mishandling of the economy and the intentional collapse to bring in a digital currency. We see people being shut out of places throughout the last year because they didn't want to consent to the this or the this. And the way to combat that is to build a strong network of businesses and resources and other outlets to have these needs met in our lives as we continue to hold the line for common sense and logic and good traditional values. This is a large work, and if one person goes at it alone, it's a lot of work, and they can definitely survive in their own off-the-grid lifestyle. But if all of us are doing this, 80 million of us all across this nation, and probably eventually more, as long as people don't want to sign on to the digital slavery and technocracy and mark of the beast system. If all of us are uniting together and we're all doing something to contribute, and we start now before it's too late, before these policies and these agendas really take root, then we can start to build together and have a safety net for when they come through with these agendas. So firstly, we can begin to boycott these big corporations. Every time we shop with Amazon or Target or Walmart, these big organizations that were working together hand in glove with the agendas we've seen throughout the past 3 years, we're funding the very enemies that will be used to enslave and coerce people into the lifestyles that they want us to live. So boycotting big institutions, big organizations, and starting to shop with the little guy is a simple tactic that has been used for civil rights advancement throughout human history, with the Boston Tea Party or the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King, where they boycotted businesses that would segregate. So this is segregation and human rights violations on a whole nother level. But if we all start to boycott the establishment and start to fund the little guy and start to, if you're able to start your own business or start to create your own resources that can be traded or bartered or sold to other patriots, and we build a network of people doing business with one another for our needs to be met, really. It's not about making tons of wealth or anything, but it's about having our resources met and doing it in a communal way and doing it in a widespread way all across the nation. That will have tremendous impact and help us to enter into the future strong and being able to create a system that we can pass on to future generations. Also, there's a great idea I discovered a few months ago, and that is to build monuments about what has taken place to spread awareness. If you have a big front yard or something, you can put up a bunch of crosses and put a sign there saying this represents deaths from and just like we have monuments for what took place in the war during World War II, to remember and help inform people of the tragedies of this, and begin to put up signs or create tangible representations of the dangers of world government and what people such as Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab and the Biden administration and so on have been involved with. That's a simple way to spread awareness, a form of peaceful protest, and getting the information out to the public about what has taken place, and so that the future generations know about it, the kids know about it, and they have that understanding of the dangers of big government as they grow up, so that they will be less likely to be victims to it. Also, the Redeclaration of Independence 2022 is in the link below. You can sign that and share that. Part of having success in this fifth generational warfare is informing people about what has taken place and documenting clearly and in a simple way what has taken place. So the Redeclaration of Independence has an account clearly laying out the crimes that have been committed and very direct details about who was involved and what organizations were involved. And when you sign that, it's forming an allegiance across this country of people who acknowledge how corrupt and how compromised the institutions are, and who are choosing to not consent to it any longer and to peacefully start to unite together to pass the baton of human freedom and human rights and a godly Christian nation on to future generations. Also, that can be shared to spread awareness. It's very easy to write an email to people who make videos online that you maybe watch, or leaders that you know, pastors and managers of businesses and so on, or people who are involved in this patriot movement across the nation. And you can reach out to them through email. Usually the emails are accessible on their website or on their business card or something like that. And you can reach out to them, send the link of the Redeclaration of Independence so that they have a thorough understanding of what has taken place also. And we can begin to create a network where we're all on the same page with what has taken place, and we're starting to unite in common solutions. And I should have said this first, but you can also pray that the corruption gets exposed, and pray that Christians all across this nation will unite together to take action, to stand up for human rights, to stand up for justice, to stand up for freedom. Prayer is obviously very powerful, and when we unite together in that way, we can empower this mission with the Spirit of God and His presence and His providence to help us to advance a future for humanity where people can be safe and have abundant, flourishing lives in their natural design. Also, another way to establish and empower an infrastructure where we can have our needs met is using apps and platforms like Craigslist or OfferUp and these other websites that connect people together in the neighborhood, in the communities, and locally, so that you're going directly to a fellow citizen and that money's going directly in their pocket. Obviously, if you use the app and you're communicating through that platform, then all that information is documented, but it's a simple step and a simple solution for the time being. And eventually over time, if we establish relationships with those people in our community, then we can get their number directly or go through other avenues to communicate and do those transactions. Being able to grow your own food and create your own resources is also obviously a very simple way. If you can sustain yourself without the grocery store, then that's another layer of freedom and less opportunity for government coercion and involvement in your life. All right, so together we can accomplish a lot, and share this video. That's one of the main tools we can use, is sharing information, uniting on common values throughout the country to have long-term success. I hope you have a great new year. Happy 2023. All right, God bless.